Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're the No-Fly Zone Nomads. We're a retired Gen X Canadian couple who are slow traveling the world without stepping foot into an airport. On our last video, we had just arrived in Japan from our Norwegian Cruise Line cruise. Our first morning in Japan, when we woke up, we were pulling into Yokohama Harbor. We were greeted by the Yokohama Bay Bridge, which was fantastic. We were able to see that from our stateroom balcony in our pajamas having coffee. That was a wonderful way to start our adventures. We continued on. A few minutes later, we pulled into the harbor. We started the disembarkation process from the boat, but that's going to be more detail was in our last video. So if you haven't watched that yet, maybe rewind and go back. So we finished off that morning, though, with our last breakfast on the boat and had stunning views of downtown Yokohama. Mount Fuji made this wonderful appearance, which is a glorious surprise. And then it was quickly off the boat and off to our first full stop, which was going to be Osaka. So we left the train, called a...
Left the train.
We left the boat. Left the boat. I'll edit that out later, or maybe I won't. That's the funny part. We left the boat, called an Uber, and got a ride. All the Ubers here are taxis as well, so you can use different platforms, but they're all going to show up in little black taxis, which are adorable and efficient, and no haggling's required. They're all the same price. It's what you see is what you get, and it's a nice surprise. The cab ride took us right to Yokohama to catch the bullet train for Osaka. Very straightforward process. Again, signs and a lot of the assistance provided is in English as well. The gentleman was very helpful, got us on the right train, the right direction. It's actually a very straightforward system we'll talk about in future videos. It's just numbers and colors. If you can remember those and east versus west, you're going to be just fine. Very helpful. Got on the high-speed train. Some tips for that when you're booking it. When you're going from Yokohama to Osaka, you'll be heading by Mount Fuji, so you get an even better view. If it's a clear day, it doesn't make that many appearances. I think apparently I read it only appears 52 days a year. So it was wonderful for us to see it that one day we're going to be there. You can choose which side of the train, if there's availability, you sit on. So they can be on the Mount Fuji side or not the Mount Fuji side. When we were there, all the Mount Fuji sides were taken, but it was a bit more cloud covered at that point of the day, so it didn't really matter. But a pro tip is if you don't get on the Mount Fuji side of the train, if you're heading west, the bullet trains are beautiful, they're fast, they're gorgeous. The bathrooms have spoiled us for all their bathrooms and gave us a wonderful view of what bathrooms in Japan are going to be like. But if you're not on the Mount Fuji side, get up, go to the vestibule area in between the trains, which there are several bathrooms. And also in the vestibule, there's this lovely window pointing towards Mount Fuji. So if you don't have a Mount Fuji seat, you can still get some pictures of it, go to the vestibule and hang out there for a little while. Amazing, efficient, wonderful, relaxing first long transport in Japan, which
super fast,
which took us right into Osaka, where we hit again the station. Easy cab ride into the hotel, which was fantastic. Using Google Translate, that's going to be your best friend. And using Google Maps, you know where you're going. Just show that to the driver. They get it right away. They pop it in. You can go. Whether you're using the Uber app. Again, as we've learned in subsequent visits, just getting into the taxi stand and getting to the next available car is a great way of doing it. You don't always have to use the apps to do this. Same price. You're not going to get taken for a ride. No pun intended. Took us right out to our hotel. And Andrea, what was that like?
It was really great. The hotel in Osaka was called the Elcient, E-L-C-I-E-N-T. This hotel, we got free on points for me getting a TD visa with Aeroplan points. So with Aeroplan, kind of similar to the IHG program that the Americans have that we don't really have access to because we don't have the credit cards. With Aeroplan, there are certain hotels that if you book through the Aeroplan portal that you get your fourth night for free. So we paid for 3 nights on points and then got our fourth night for free. And it was a really great deal even on the points. And so I didn't have huge expectations for what this hotel was going to be like because it was like the cheapest Aeroplan one in Osaka. But it was really great. When you get to the hotels in Japan, usually they will not even consider you checking in anytime before 3. That is check-in time, and checkout is 11. But you can always drop off your bags. So we just thought we'll drop off our bags and we'll go for a walk. And when we were giving them our bags, the woman said, "You're welcome to use the lounge while you wait," because we got there at 2 and we needed to wait an hour. And then I had remembered that when we looked, it said we had access to the premium lounge. Didn't really know what that meant, but the lounge was great. We there was coffee and water and snacks and stuff like that throughout the day. And then it was different at night, which we'll talk about. But yeah, so we hung out there, and once we checked in, we saw the room. And so Japanese hotel rooms are very small, but this was perfectly adequate for what we needed. Could use a little bit more clothing and suitcase storage, but luckily we're traveling light these days, so it's not as big a deal. But yeah, it had a small closet entrance. You take your shoes off when you walk into pretty much anywhere in Japan. So they have slippers there waiting for you when you get there. There was a it's usually 2 twin beds pushed together. So is it a king? It's close to a king. It's at least a queen, but it's a good sized bed. They all have USB plugs beside the beds. This one had a great view of the city, and really great blackout curtains. So sleeping in not that we sleep in anymore, but you could sleep in. And yeah, it had a desk area, and the bathrooms again are small. Like the bathroom was probably not much bigger than the one we had on the boat or on the ship, but they all have, the Japanese bathtubs are shorter but deeper. So they're, it's a bit of a leg up over them, but they're really nice. Bathrooms, super efficient. The Japanese toilet, again, is just a whole thing on its own. They're amazing. They spoil you for what the future is going to hold in Southeast Asia, I'm sure. But yeah, the hotel was great. And I would totally recommend that hotel.
What did we do after we checked in?
Right. So we checked in, and then after we unpacked, we went to Dotonbori, which is a canal area that is famous for all of its lights and signs and restaurants and street food and boat rides. So we took that was our first time on the metro, and Keith did a good job with Google Maps figuring it out, because it is a little bit overwhelming at first. But again, you just load, especially if you have an iPhone, you just load a Suica card, Suica, or there's other brands, but they all work. And you start with 1,000 yen, which is $9 Canadian, and you just you don't even have to open it in your wallet. You just tap your phone with your phone on, but asleep. You just tap it on, tap it off. You're charged by the distance you go. Could be easier. The trains come every 3 minutes maybe, and you can transfer easily within the stations to other lines. Super efficient metro. And Osaka is the second biggest city in Japan, I believe. So it's a very large transit system, but we navigated it no problem. Felt like pros when we got off.
It's, again, colors and numbers.
And yeah.
Occasionally direction, but usually...
You're on M17, you're getting off at M23. You just keep an eye out on the number of the station you're pulling up to. Dotonbori was fun. We really liked it. Now, the day we arrived in Japan was Culture Day, so it was the Monday of a long weekend. So we don't know if that was why it was so busy, but there were lineups to other buildings that we saw on our way too. So there were definitely events going on. Parts of the road had been closed off for, we don't know if it was a concert or what, but they were just opening it up when we were coming back. But it's really cool. The 3D signs that stick out of the buildings that are showing you what they have. It's famous for, I can't remember the name of them, but these little balls that have octopus in them that are fried in this little pan. We went to we weren't sure what we wanted, but we were walking around looking at all the food, and we were like, well, we're in Japan. It's our first night. We need to have sushi. So I said, well, let's see if we can find Conveyor Belt Sushi. And sure enough, Keith's like, well, there's one right there. And we didn't research it at all. We just walked into it. It was, again, a little overwhelming at first because you're like, does anyone in here even speak English? Are we going to figure this out? But they put you at 2 little stools. I love that they have at every restaurant, they have this little basket that they put for your coats and your bags. So your purse or your backpack never goes on the floor. You don't have to worry about it. It's in a little basket that's sort of put between you. So it's very secure, and it's just a lovely gesture, and it's just indicative of what everything is like here. It's just another little touch that is, super efficient, super thoughtful, clean, because it helps keep everything clean. Anyway, the conveyor belt sushi was very cool. Everything is ordered. So it's going around on a conveyor, and there's a little iPad that gives you instructions, and it shows you what is on the plates if you can't figure it out. So the price is by the color of the plate. So blue plates were one price, red plates were another price, gold plates were the expensive things. But the iPad helped you determine, like, something would go by and you're like, what is that? Then it would help you figure that out. And then it says when you're done, you push the button and someone comes over, they count your plates, they give you a piece of paper, and you go pay. And it was awesome. We were surprised when we walked out that there was a giant crowd in front of the restaurant. And what we didn't realize is that we had chosen one of the very famous sushi, conveyor belt sushi places in Dotonbori, which is, because it's a fish wholesaler, and every night at a certain time, it just literally was the time we were walking out of the restaurant, they do a bluefin tuna butchering, basically. So this enormous fish is in a glass, it's like the big glass window at the front of it, and a guy is in there butchering it. And this is how fresh what you were eating inside was. They are a wholesaler, so everything you were eating was fresh from that day. People, like, the first thing he did was he hacked off the tail, and he brought it out for people to look at, which was interesting because, again, you can see the structure of the bones of the fish and stuff. But people were having their picture taken with the tail of the tuna, which was really quite funny. He was inviting people out of the crowd to come have their picture taken with it. They're very proud of these things. We were at another sushi restaurant just last night, and they had just had a tuna delivered, which was massive. And he invited us over to look at it because they're proud of these things. Like, they're amazing. So, and it just shows you how fresh what you're eating is, which was lovely. We decided to walk back. So we were so the area that runs north-south, I don't know what direction it was, but anyway, opposite to Dotonbori, which runs east-west, was a covered shopping district. And there's a name for these, which we will put up because I can't remember what they're called. But and we had never been in one before, and they're awesome. Like, it's like a mall, so it's covered, but the ends are open, and then there's little side streets off of it. And it has everything: shoes, clothes, food, fruit stands. So it's like half market, half mall. And we have come to find these in other cities we've been to as well. And they're great because, again, if it's a drizzly day and you want to go for a walk and not be in the weather, you can walk through these and find anything you're looking for, from lunch to shopping.
And then when we got back that night, we realized that the lounges, first of all, are amazing. So when we first checked in, we hung out there. There's like nibblies, there's coffee, there's soft drinks, there's a donut wall. Dangerous. But there's power as well. So for camping out and doing some video editing and doing some work, it's a lovely, lovely space. When you get back at night, the place was just hopping. We couldn't quite figure it out. We walk in.
It's like a nightclub.
It was like a nightclub. It basically was a nightclub. The lounge, the premium lounge, which I think any person staying there, so we're all premium. Y'all get to be premium as soon as you book in. It's the lounge changes a bit, so now it's an open bar, and by open bar it means everything's open. There's no bartenders. They just put out bottles of scotch and bourbon and vodka and prosecco. That was prosecco and red wine and white wine and beer. And it's whatever you want.
It's crazy. As long as you drink it in the area,
yeah, as
you're welcome to as much as you want.
Don't try to take it out of the area because they don't like you to do that.
No. And there was
and you don't need to.
Too. Yeah. There were snacks there too. There were olives and nuts and like just little nibbly stuff, but really interesting. Like they call it cocktail hour from like 5:30 to 7, and then from 7 to 9. We didn't really see how it changed, but then it was bar time until 9, and then at 9 they kick everybody out. Yeah. You got to go back to your room or go out. But yeah, it was really interesting to watch. Like you just had to show your key card, and you were allowed to have whatever you wanted. If there was a seat in the lounge, that was fine. If there wasn't, you were welcome to sit in the lobby of the hotel, which also had really nice, comfortable furniture. So the first night we sat out there. And again, this was the first night that was this holiday, so there were a lot of people there. But it was super fun.
It was a great night, which made the next morning a bit. We hadn't had a few bevies like that in an evening for quite some time on the train and on the cruise. So the next day started maybe a little bit later. But it was we wanted to get out bright and early, so we headed out to, our plan was to go to Osaka Castle. The cool thing with the castle, as with a lot of places in Japan, is, again, you walk up to it, it blows your mind. It's these huge walls, this massive moat. There's boats, tour boats going through the moats. They're that large and that deep. But you walk into this park and it's all free. If you want to go into the nucleus of all this is the actual castle tower, which is stunning. And again, there'll be some shots you'll be seeing in a few moments on that. That's a cost to go up to that. But again, as we've seen from other video YouTubers that we follow, it's the most beautiful parts of a lot of these areas are the outside. So if you go inside them, you you don't get to see the beauty on the outside anymore. Yes, I'm sure there's lots on the inside, and correct. Apologies for those that have been inside, and please share if you've got any comments on that. I'd love to hear about it. But we walked through the outside of it, which is all free. The exterior, which is a great big circle around it with beautiful gardens and statues, and it's just it's an attraction, but it's also school children were running around. So many places like this we went to where the kids are running around in their uniforms from all ages, from this big to teenagers.
They're so cute.
They're very cute and very well behaved and organized. It's amazing.
The whole society.
But it's even to those, like, this is the perfect spot for like a field trip, right? Anyway, you feel like you're part of that. You're part of this. The communities come together in these places. But just had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful morning walking around this castle grounds. From that, we walked back to our place, to the shrine that was nearby as well, too, which I'll put the name again. That will be up here. Under construction, a lot of renos were being done, which is I'd love to come back and see what they've done to it. But some of the buildings were still viewable, so we got some shots of that. So unfortunately, we didn't get to see all of it. But what it does, as most of these places, leads on to one of these covered shopping districts again. So within steps of that, we found this. We thought, let's go to a more of an authentic Japanese restaurant. No English. Let's see how we do. And it was a little mom and pop shop, typical on these little corners, maybe seating for possibly 10 people, probably 8. Get used to sitting at benches with people beside you. It's fine. It's amazing. Anyway, super friendly, lovely people. They had a little bit of English, but again, Google Translate. Hold your phone up, put it on the camera mode. It translates everything immediately for you. Don't ever be afraid of it.
They don't have English menus, but they all have pictures, which in Europe I would avoid a place like the Plague if it had pictures on the menu, or out front. But here everybody has, and they've got the replicas of the food. But you just point and say one.
So great lunch, and then we headed back again to the hotel because we realized the lounge was really, really good. It becomes the rooms are really small, but when you sort of look at all the other amenities of hotels, you will be spending time in them. In a hotel in Canada, you maybe don't probably hang out in the lobby a lot. You go to your room, and the room is going to be where you hunker down. But in Japan, the lobbies and the terraces and the periphery space around your room, you're going to be using them. So that's something to consider when you're booking your accommodations. And then we again ventured out. We were daring this time, so let's go to another little restaurant, and we found another lovely ramen shop. First true ramen in Japan.
Yeah, we just looked on Google Maps I typed in ramen and was looking just sort of in our vicinity because didn't want to walk too far. And this place was well rated. And this was the first one with a vending machine system.
Right. You go in and it's, love this. You go in, the first thing you look for is the English button. You click on the English button and your world changes and it becomes like a video game. And everything has the pricing on it, the descriptions of what it is. And you sort of pick what you want and you tap and you pay. A little ticket walks out and you walk into the person who's, the funny thing is you get the ticket and then you turn around and the person you give the ticket to is right there watching you use the machine. But it's just, and there's no real help with the ordering of the food. They're really there to help you work the machine, which is great. So it's no less restaurant at that point, more tech support. Then you get the ticket, you give them the ticket, and the rest of the night is easy because everything that's on that ticket is going to happen.
And because you pay in advance, well, I mean, there's no tipping in Japan.
Right.
This culture is not a tipping culture because good service is an expectation that they're proud to give. So it's more about like you pay up front because when you're done, get out. Like it's not about lingering and, it's just like, okay, that seat's now for someone else. So, thanks for coming in and you've paid, bye. So actually I appreciate the efficiency of that as someone who worked in restaurants.
You give them
great.
You get up, you say, Oshikata, that was delicious, which is what they really want to hear. And then an arigato for a thank you and get the hell out. And it's amazing because when you go by many of these places, when you first, it was very daunting. So when you look for the places with lineups, right, they're going to be great. But then you see a lineup, I'm like, I don't want to stand here waiting for the food out in the street. But because they're so efficient, that line is going to move through pretty quickly. So it's just part of what you do.
Because the lineup, it isn't necessarily for a seat. Sometimes it's to use the machine.
Yeah.
Right. So we've sort of been figuring that out too. It's like, we were walking by a restaurant yesterday. It's like, well, that one's got a really long lineup. And we were hungry. But then I realized, it just opened. They're just in line to use the machine.
There was someone like me probably at the front of the line looking at, like you look at the restaurant, it's like half empty, but some Luddites at the front trying to figure out how to use the machine. So that was another fabulous day at the castle, and then two incredible little tiny hole in the wall shops that's a bad term for them. These were like amazing restaurants. They just seem
really
like holes
good.
in the wall from the
They're
outside.
tiny compared to our restaurants is all that it is.
So that was day 2, and the next day we had a much busier day when we crossed the city and.
Yeah, we took the metro again. And we had to transfer this time. So we did 2 metro lines? No.
Yes,
I think so. It feels like we did.
Let's say then. You don't know.
I don't know.
So it doesn't matter. We definitely did.
Yeah, we went down to the waterfront area. And what we didn't know at the time is that this is also the cruise terminal, which we'll actually be back to this part of Osaka in December. The end of November when we're getting on another cruise. But it's an interesting area. It has, again, lots of cute little streets. And we went and just grabbed a coffee and some breakfast when we first got there. And then you walk towards, there's a giant Ferris wheel. There seems to be a Ferris wheel in every port
You'll
city.
be seeing lots of pictures of Ferris wheels.
Big Ferris wheel, and then Legoland is right beside the Ferris wheel. So there was a giant giraffe made out of Lego. So there was tons of families walking around, and again, like they just have these vast areas where it's crowded, but you don't feel like it because there's just so much space outside of these things, and the lines are so well controlled. And anyway, but we walked past Legoland to go to the Osaka Aquarium because I had seen videos of how impressive it is. They have whale sharks, which is insane. And so we walked up. We had forgotten to buy tickets ahead of time, but there's a sign there that shows you how to do it on your phone. Scan this QR code, buy your tickets. They're timed tickets. So we were there about 10 to 11 and we were in the 11 to 11:15 group. And yeah, they just basically, they change this time on the sign so you know which timing group is going in next, and you line up and you go in.
And they space it throughout the entire, from getting your ticket to going in to going through the exhibit. There is like, some of it's very physically controlled, and others it's just the way the design. You're not like crammed in. They have these little. There's someone going into it. There's someone at the bottom of the escalator. Like a bunch of people went up. We're gonna wait 30 seconds and let them. And then that 30-second gap sort of sits with you the entire experience. It's just
it was really well done.
They know their stuff.
Yeah. You are actually walking around sort of this central tank where the whale sharks and the other kinds of sharks are in there, and all the different kinds of rays and that. And so you do basically end up seeing the same tank from multiple angles. But then on all of the outside walls is all of the different, like the crabs were crazy. They were like, you just realize how much they're giant spiders, basically, when you see them interacting with other things. But yeah, no, we really enjoyed it. And then after we left the aquarium, so we took the metro back to our area. So we had probably killed, it was mid-afternoon at this point. We hadn't had lunch yet. So yeah, we went and got off the metro at a different station. We're walking from a different direction towards our hotel, and sort of went into the back alley of, similar to where we'd found the first ramen shop, and found another one. And just these two young guys, maybe like 20, rocking out, making food. And we were the only, I think there was one other person in the place. Barely spoke any English, but they were so friendly. And just everybody here, the service is just, it's what they do, right? Like, I mean, they're very proud of what they do. They want to hear you slurp your noodles. They want to be told that the food is delicious. And it is. Like, we haven't had a bad thing.
Which is where we're going to leave this video now. Hopefully you found some of this informative. Thank you again for all those who have commented on our past videos, sharing your experiences, asking some questions, and a few that have taken some of the our information and have put it into action and are going to be sharing the same experiences in the future. Love that. If any of this is helpful, that's why we're doing it. So we'll be seeing you soon from Kobe. It's hard. We're in Hiroshima right now, and we're trying to remember Osaka. And meanwhile, we still got to do a Kobe video. So we're getting there. Again, and for that reason, my next plug, follow us on Instagram, and Facebook is where our dailies are being updated with some of the snapshots and some little tidbits of what's happening on a more current scale. So thanks again for watching. Like if you did, subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.